They built fake romances with actresses just to hide that I loved a man. I became America's sweetheart by pretending to love women I barely knew while my heart belonged to a man the world would never accept. It started with a lie. A polished, beautiful lie wrapped in designer tuxedos, red carpet kisses, and studio-approved interviews. Hollywood called it strategy. I called it survival. My name is Caleb Monroe. You've seen me in blockbuster films, center stage at award shows, grinning beside gorgeous women whose hands I held like props. My Instagram was full of sunsets with supermodels, behind-the-scenes candids with actresses who whispered, "You owe me dinner for this," and choreographed PDA moments that fans ate up like candy. But none of them knew about Marcus. He wasn't famous. He wasn't glamorous. He wasn't anyone my publicist would have approved of. But he was everything. A literature professor at UCLA with thick-rimmed glasses, a sarcastic mouth, and a voice that felt like coming home. I met him at a charity gala 3 years ago. He thought I was the valet. I thought he was too good to be real. We both were right in a way. At first, it was easy. Sneak away between film shoots. Quiet dinners in his tiny apartment. Nights spent tangled up in sheets and sonnets. No cameras. No scripts. Just us. But as my career soared, the cost of our love became painfully clear. Studios started hinting, then demanding that I clean up my image. Which meant dating women. Publicly. Loudly. Fake engagements. Magazine covers. Paparazzi ops staged down to the minute. "You knew this would happen," my manager, Dana, said flatly. "The world isn't ready. Especially not with the kind of roles you're getting. Superheroes don't come out of the closet." I laughed. Then I cried. Then I signed the contracts. The first was Julia Reyes. Stunning, sweet, and just as trapped as I was. Her agent sold it as mutual benefit. I'd boost her new indie film. She'd give me hetero credibility. We smiled through dinner dates and held hands at press junkets, while Marcus watched from the sidelines, his expression unreadable. The second was worse. A rising starlet named Chloe Hart. She took her role very seriously, method acting, even in our fake bedroom scenes. She'd brush her lips against my ear and whisper, "I know what you're doing. And I know what you're hiding." I wanted to scream. But I smiled for the camera. Each lie chipped away at me. And Marcus? He waited. And waited. Until he couldn't anymore. The night he left, I had just returned from a press tour in Europe. He was sitting on the floor of my living room, holding a tabloid with a photo of me kissing Chloe in Paris. "You look happy," he said quietly. "It's not real, Marcus. You know that." He looked up at me, eyes glistening. "But it's real enough for the world. And it's destroying me." I reached for him, but he flinched. "They built these lies for you. But you're the one living in them. And I can't be your secret anymore." Then he walked out. No dramatics. No final kiss. Just silence. The next morning, I was back on set. Smiling. Performing. Bleeding inside. I tried to reach him. Emails. Texts. Calls. Nothing. So I did what cowards do best. I buried myself in work. I let the machine keep spinning. New movies. New women. New fake smiles. But something shifted. The lie had gotten too big. Too heavy. And there was this moment, one tiny, searing moment, when I realized I would rather burn it all down than keep hiding. It happened during an interview. The host was young, bold, and clearly fishing for headlines. "So Caleb," she purred, "you've been linked with so many gorgeous co-stars. When are you settling down? Or is there someone special already?" I felt the rehearsed answer form on my tongue. The joke. The wink. The fake name drop. But instead, I heard myself say. There was someone. He was everything. The room fell silent. My publicist looked like she'd swallowed a wasp. The host blinked. He. I nodded. He. His name was Marcus. And I lost him because I was too afraid to live my truth. It was a crack small but irreversible. The internet exploded. Support. Hate. Disbelief. More support. The studio dropped my next film. My PR team resigned. Julia and Chloe unfollowed me on Instagram. And yet. I felt light. Like I'd been holding my breath for years and finally exhaled. But freedom comes with a price. I went months without seeing Marcus. I didn't expect him to forgive me. I didn't think I deserved it. But I kept speaking out. I gave interviews. Talked about the fake relationships. The pressure. The fear. I didn't out anyone else. That wasn't my place. But I made sure the world knew one thing. I had loved a man. And I still did. The rest of the story, the confrontation, the reckoning, the second chance, it didn't come wrapped in a Hollywood ending. But it came. And it started with a knock on my door. He knocked 3 times. Just like he used to. I froze. For a second, I thought it was a cruel hallucination, my guilt playing tricks on me. But then I heard his voice. It's me. Marcus. When I opened the door, he looked the same, yet not. Thinner. Tired. But his eyes still held that fire I fell for. He was holding a small brown box, and his other hand trembled slightly at his side. Can I come in? I stepped aside. He walked in like someone who had tried not to want this, and failed. I saw the interview, he said, setting the box on my kitchen counter like it weighed 100 pounds. Actually, I saw it 23 times. I let out a nervous laugh. I didn't plan it. The words just came out. He looked at me for a long time. You looked like yourself for the first time in years. I wanted to say so many things. That I missed him. That I wasn't whole without him. That every day since he left felt like I was bleeding out slowly in a perfectly lit room. Instead, I asked, are you mad at me? He tilted his head. I was. But mostly, I was heartbroken. I didn't leave because I stopped loving you, Caleb. I left because loving you was breaking me. I know. Do you? His voice cracked, then steadied. Do you know what it's like to love someone so much and watch them pretend you don't exist? To see them smile with someone else just to keep a career alive? To feel like the one thing you have, this beautiful, terrifying, honest love, has to be erased so millions of strangers can buy into a lie? I didn't answer. I couldn't. The truth was heavy and shameful and rooted deep in my gut. I never wanted to hide you, I whispered. But you did. Over and over again. I was scared. And selfish. And stupid. Marcus nodded slowly. Yeah. You were. We stood there in silence. It stretched for minutes. Maybe years. Then he opened the box. Inside were the letters I had written him over the past few months. All unopened. He picked one up, the one with my shaky handwriting and tear stains, and handed it to me. Read it. I hesitated, then unfolded the paper. My own voice came back to me in a fragile whisper. Marcus. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can. But I need you to know that loving you was the only real thing I've ever done. Every red carpet, every fake kiss, every interview, none of it meant anything compared to one quiet night beside you. I used to think the world would collapse if I told the truth. But the world's still here. And I'm still breathing. And if there's a chance, even a sliver, that you could forgive me, then I'll wait. I'll wait until my name fades from marquees and my face disappears from magazines. I'll wait until there's nothing left of me but the man you first met, no fame, no mask, just me. Because I'd rather be no one with you than someone without love. Caleb. When I looked up, Marcus was crying. And so was I. I opened that one last night, he said softly. It wrecked me. I stepped forward, slowly, unsure if I had the right to touch him anymore. Does it mean there's still hope? He didn't speak. Just closed the distance between us and rested his forehead against mine. I don't know what the world will do with you now, he murmured. But I know what I want to do. Then he kissed me. And everything shattered, the shame, the fear, the years of pretending replaced by something raw and blindingly honest. The fallout was inevitable. You don't break Hollywood's unspoken rules and expect applause. Studios pulled out of contracts. Brand endorsements vanished overnight. A major talk show uninvited me from their upcoming episode, citing audience misalignment. But something else happened too. Letters. Thousands of them. From closeted teens in Kansas. From a retired Army vet in Alabama who said, "You gave me courage at 73. From actors, musicians, even a senator's son, all thanking me for saying the thing they were too afraid to say. One stood out. It came in a small, crumpled envelope. No return address. Just a note written in shaky, blue ink. Thank you for not lying anymore. Maybe one day, I won't have to either. I taped it to my fridge. The next few months weren't easy. There were days I didn't leave the apartment. Days when the silence of cancelled calls and empty schedules felt louder than any spotlight ever had. But Marcus was there. Every step. He cooked. He read to me when I couldn't focus. He made me laugh with his dry wit and stupid puns. Slowly, I began to feel human again. We even went out. Quietly, at first bookstores, hole-in-the-wall diners, late-night drives along the coast. Some people recognized me. Some didn't. Some took pictures. Most didn't care. One night, we were sitting in the back of a jazz bar when a man in his 50s walked up and said, "I just want to say your honesty meant something. To me. To my son." Then he walked away. I stared at Marcus. That's the first time someone said something kind to me in public since I came out. He smiled. You get used to it. Eventually, offers came again. Not from the big studios, but from smaller, bolder ones. Independent directors. LGBTQ+ filmmakers who told me, "We don't want you to pretend. We want you as you are." I took one of those roles. A drama about two men rebuilding after betrayal. When the trailer dropped, the comments were brutal and beautiful in equal measure. But I didn't flinch this time. Marcus watched it with me. When the screen faded to black, he turned and said, "That felt like you." I nodded. It was. We moved in together a few months later. His books filled the shelves. My scripts cluttered the kitchen table. We fought about dishes and argued about movie endings. We loved hard. We healed harder. The tabloids still ran stories. Caleb Monroe, Hollywood's gay scandal or brave trailblazer. I didn't care what label they gave me anymore. Because for the first time in my life, I was living a story that was mine. And I wasn't alone in it. Our life settled into a rhythm, messy, imperfect, and ours. We weren't hiding anymore, but we also weren't parading anything. There was a quiet kind of bravery in just existing. Going grocery shopping together. Holding hands in public. Getting coffee and not flinching when someone pulled out their phone to take a photo. Some people stared. Others smiled. A few scoffed. But for the most part, the world kept turning. And we kept living. I got cast in a limited series about a queer jazz musician in the 1940s. It was raw and dark and nothing like the blockbuster roles I used to chase. I poured myself into it. Every note of pain and longing that I had once buried for the sake of image, I let bleed onto the screen. When it premiered at Sundance, I walked the carpet with Marcus. He didn't want to at first. "They'll rip you apart again," he warned. "I don't care," I said. "If they're going to see me, they need to see all of me." We posed together. Just one photo. But it made headlines around the world. The caption under one viral shot read, "Caleb Monroe steps into the light." That night, Marcus kissed me under a string of fairy lights in the festival courtyard and said, "I think I'm falling in love with you all over again." I grinned. "Only took public scandal and total career collapse to win you back." He laughed. "And emotional growth. Don't forget that part." But life, as it always does, wasn't content to leave us untouched. 3 months later, my father called. He hadn't spoken to me in over a year. Not since the tabloids. Not since I said his name on live television. I almost didn't pick up. But something in me, the kid still wanting approval, still waiting for an "I'm proud of you" pressed answer. His voice was cold. Controlled. "I saw the photos," he said. "Which ones?" I asked. "There's a whole collection." He didn't laugh. "You embarrassed your mother." I bit my tongue. Counted to 5. "Mom died 2 years ago." Silence. "Right." He sounded tired. Or maybe just guilty. "You know," he added, "I raised you to be strong. Not soft." I looked at Marcus, who was on the balcony watering our stubborn little lemon tree. "I'm stronger now than I've ever been," I said. "And softer too. Both can be true." He didn't reply. The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a long time before tossing it onto the couch. Marcus came in a few minutes later and saw the look on my face. "Your dad?" I nodded. "Want to talk about it?" "No," I whispered. "I want to live better than he ever taught me to." And we did. A year passed. Then 2. I starred in another film, this time a romance where the love story wasn't hidden in metaphor or subtext. It was tender and full of truth. It was the kind of movie I never thought Hollywood would make, let alone cast me in. And it was a hit. Not a billion-dollar blockbuster. But it found its audience. And more importantly, it started conversations. I started speaking at schools. Colleges. Even youth shelters. Telling my story. Talking about the lies I lived and the love I almost lost. "Would you go back and change it?" one student asked me during a Q&A. I thought about that for a moment. "I'd change the fear," I said. "But not the journey. Because that fear brought me here. To him. To myself." After the talk, a teen approached me. They looked nervous, eyes darting toward their parent waiting by the door. "I'm not out yet," they said. "But your story makes me want to be. Someday." I smiled. Someday is enough. Just keep choosing yourself, one day at a time. Marcus proposed on a Tuesday. It wasn't dramatic. No flash mob. No skywriting. Just us on the couch. Chinese takeout. An old black and white movie playing in the background. He pulled out a ring box between bites of sesame chicken. "I love you," he said, voice steady. "I loved you when you were lying to the world. I loved you when you finally told the truth. And I'll love you in whatever version of yourself you become next." So. He opened the box. Simple silver. No diamonds. Just sincerity. "Will you marry me?" I blinked. Then laughed. Then cried. Yes, I said. 1,000 times, yes. We didn't tell anyone for a while. It was our secret, but not the shameful kind. The joyful kind. The ours kind. When we finally did announce it, the headlines were kinder this time. Still sensational, sure. But there was respect in the chaos. One article read, "From Hollywood heartthrob to honest husband, the redemption arc of Caleb Monroe." I didn't need redemption. But I appreciated the poetry. We got married in Big Sur. Small. Quiet. 20 guests. Ocean air. Soft music. I wore a navy suit. Marcus wore gray. We wrote our own vows. Mine were messy and full of metaphors. His were precise and devastatingly honest. I once thought love had to be hidden to survive, he said, his voice shaking. But then you showed me that love doesn't survive in the shadows. It grows in the light. And I want to grow with you, forever. We kissed as the waves crashed behind us. No paparazzi. No filters. Just truth. Afterward, we danced barefoot under string lights and toasted with our favorite cheap champagne. Later that night, curled up beside him, I whispered, "This is the only role I've ever wanted to play." He smiled sleepily. "You don't have to act anymore." A year after our wedding, I got an offer I almost turned down. It was for a film. No, the film. A major studio project. Big budget. Star-studded cast. The kind of role agents used to beg me to chase. There was just one catch: the lead was openly gay. Not coded. Not subtle. He was messy, magnetic, unapologetically queer. 10 years ago, they would have buried that script. 5 years ago, they would have straight-washed it. Now, they wanted me to star in it. "It's about time," Marcus said, reading over the script with me one night. "The world's catching up." I was quiet for a moment. What if I'm not what they want anymore? He raised an eyebrow. "You mean, what if you're too honest?" I nodded. He smiled. "Then screw them. But maybe this time, they want honesty." I said yes to the role. And something miraculous happened. I didn't have to pretend. Not once. The character felt like an echo of my younger self, raw, insecure, aching to be known. I gave him everything I'd once tried to hide. And it was the most cathartic work I'd ever done. At the premiere, I walked the carpet with Marcus again. This time, we didn't just hold hands. We kissed. Cameras flashed. Journalists leaned in. I could hear the clicking and whispering. But I didn't flinch. Let them see it. Let them see us. After the screening, the audience gave a standing ovation. I stood on stage with the cast and crew, staring out at the sea of clapping strangers. Then something happened that I didn't expect. A young actor raised his hand during the Q&A and asked, "How did you find the courage to come out in an industry that doesn't make space for people like us?" I took a breath. "I didn't have courage at first," I said. "I had fear. And shame. And people around me who told me to lie, just to survive. And I listened to them, for a long time. I told the world stories that weren't true." I paused. But then I met someone who reminded me that survival isn't the same as living. That love is the most radical kind of truth. And when I finally stopped hiding, I realized all the things I thought I would lose. They were never real to begin with. The room was still. Then, slowly, applause again, not the kind meant for a celebrity, but for something deeper. Something human. After the event, the young actor found me in the hallway. "I'm not out yet," he whispered. "But seeing you, it helps." I placed a hand on his shoulder. "You don't owe the world your truth until you're ready." But when you are, don't let anyone make you feel smaller for living it. He nodded, tears in his eyes. Thank you. That summer, the movie broke records. Not just because it was good, which it was, but because it was honest. And in a world saturated with noise, people are hungry for something that feels real. Critics praised the performance. Audiences called it brave. Studios, once silent, now called again. Offers poured in. But this time, I didn't say yes to everything. I said yes to stories that mattered. I said yes to working with queer creators, to films that didn't ask for apology or translation, to characters who weren't tragedies or tokens but people. I said yes to myself. Marcus and I bought a house just outside the city. Quiet, sun-drenched, full of crooked charm. He built shelves for his books. I turned the garage into a writing space. We planted a garden. The lemon tree from our apartment came with us. It's still stubborn, still thriving. Some days, the past creeps in, the old pressure, the expectations, the scars of silence. But now, I face them with him. One evening, I found him on the porch, watching the sunset. "You okay?" I asked. He looked at me, smiled. "I was just thinking we made it." I sat beside him. "Yeah. We did. I used to think people like us only got happy endings in fiction." I reached for his hand. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe we write our own now." Years passed. I aged. My face softened. The buzz faded, as it always does. But something else grew in its place: peace. Not the kind you get from success or applause. The kind that comes from no longer running. One afternoon, I was walking through a bookstore when I saw a display, "Top Queer Love Stories That Changed Hollywood." My movie was there. Alongside names I now considered family actors, writers, directors who fought the same battles I did, who bled the same way, who told the truth even when it cost them everything. I smiled. Not because I was proud of the fame. But because we weren't invisible anymore. And then, years later, on an ordinary Tuesday morning, I found a letter in our mailbox. Handwritten. No name. Just. "I watched you from the start. Watched you lie, then tell the truth. Watched you lose and love and fight your way through it all. I never had the courage you did. But because of you, my son will. Thank you, Caleb. For making space for him." I held the letter in both hands and felt the weight of it in my chest. I walked back inside, kissed Marcus on the cheek, and said, "There's still so much more to do." He grinned. "So let's do it. This is not a story of a perfect man." I lied. I ran. I broke hearts, including my own. But I also learned. I chose truth over comfort. Love over fear. And every time I look at Marcus, every time I hold his hand in a world that once demanded I hide it, I remember. They built fake romances with actresses to hide that I loved a man. But in the end, love won anyway. The end. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.